Welcome to Talking with Creatives. My name is Jennifer Dean, and I'll be utilising this podcast to have chats with artists, makers, and creatives, hearing the stories behind their work and exploring what creativity means in everyday life. Today, I'm joined by musician Will Clift. Will is a Sunshine Coast-based artist whose work blends soul, indie, dance, and contemporary R&B. Drawing comparisons to artists such as Tom Misch, D'Angelo, and Matt Corby. Beginning his career as a busker at the famous Eumundi Markets, Will's practice is grounded in grassroots performance and community connection. Heralding from a rugby career and a Bachelor of Music, Will brings both discipline and vulnerability to his songwriting. His debut EP, I Know You Know, co-written and produced with Matt Corby in 2024, explores themes of relationships, resilience, and creative pressure. Working independently, Will continues to build his career through self-funded touring, live performance, and a growing digital presence, navigating a music industry now shaped by streaming, continuous change, and the challenge of being heard in an ever-crowded digital world. Will's work reflects a deep belief in community, openness, and the courage to show up honestly. At its heart is vulnerability and trust, both in himself and in the people who find meaning in his songs.
Did you know, baby, when you fell from grace and I held you up in a most sacred place? Oh, it hurts to watch your fame come crashing down as you keep shifting blame. Eyes open, but the picture just ain't clear. I'm hoping, but that won't get me far. How many times will I say is this year before falling apart? I know, you got me in pain. Just look at that scope and you're winning.
Will Clift, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
You've got a really good setup there. Is that in your home studio?
Yes, I'm lucky. This is the current little home studio setup. So I didn't have one for a while, and having a space to do stuff like this and write is just such a bonus. So I'm stoked.
That's awesome. Are you writing full time?
At the moment, yeah, I'm sort of working towards an album is the current plan, and I'm in the early stages of that. So trying to get as much writing done as I can, but also playing lots of gigs on the side as sort of income.
On your socials recently, you've put up a call out to audiences to invite you into their homes to play. What's that all about? I keep looking at my backyard thinking, how many people could I fit in my back garden?
It's had a lot better response than I expected, to be honest. At first, I was a bit nervous that no one was going to be interested because, you know, I've put like small call outs without putting in much effort before and not had much of a response. But I put in a bit more effort to the video. I thought if I'm going to do it, I've got to go all out. And it's something that Matt Corby did early in his career that he has said to me, you should definitely do this. It's how I built my first initial fan base. And those people still come to my shows. They're the sort of day one fans. This year, I hadn't really got anything super important locked in other than get some new music out. So I thought it's perfect timing. Why not? Why not give it a red hot go?
So whereabouts are you going to be touring?
Great question. And I will let you know when I've sorted through the 1,000 messages that I've received.
I think somebody said they were in Tasmania, if I remember correctly. So I don't know if you're going to go that far.
It's incredible. Like I've had people message me from the Netherlands. I've had all over Australia, obviously, like inland. I think later in the year I might do like rural version of this and sort of track inland, because initially the plan was sunny coast down to Melbourne is what I usually do as a tour, and hug the coastline so I can surf along the way.
Two
But
birds, one stone.
exactly. I'd love to get up to Cairns at some stage, and I've had a lot of messages from Adelaide, so I've never been that far. And Perth is a whole other kettle of fish. I think I'll be catching a flight. I won't be driving my van quite that far. But I've had a few messages from the West Coast, and I love the West Coast, so we'll see.
I read in an interview once that that's exactly how Taylor Swift built her fan base too. She would basically invite fans to her home. And
Amazing.
she apparently still to this day gets her fans to help her decide on songs for her album.
Such a good idea. They always say that. It's like they always say you need to build a community, and what's a better way now to build a community than actually in person in people's houses, you know?
Yeah,
Especially with artists being worried about AI and stuff like that. I think the one thing that we're lucky with as live performing musicians is that can't be replaced. So I'm like,
exactly.
now's the time to lean into
Yeah.
the authenticity and in person stuff because, you know, that's the bonus that we have.
It really is. And it really does come down to community too. It's interesting that you mentioned that because all forms of arts is all about building community. And the last three podcasts that I've done, the three artists I've spoken with so far, Warwick Gow, Juan Ford, and Miriam Innes, have all mentioned how important community has been for them in building their careers and connecting with their audiences on that real personal level, and everybody supporting each other. And that's the same with the music industry. But
Everybody loves music, no matter who you are in the world. Everyone, if you say you're a musician, people know what you're talking about and people love music. Whereas rugby is a very small pool, really. It's global, you know?
I am so amazed. You started your career as a professional rugby player. This is so interesting that you made this move from rugby to music. So tell us a bit about that. How did this happen?
So, I mean, I come from a diehard rugby family. My dad was a ex-Australian Army hooker, played all around the world, and is still a diehard fan. My brother's still a professional rugby player. I obviously know you from back in our PT days when we were coaching you, Richard and
Will
I.
was one of my personal trainers. Okay. This was
Yeah, she still got it. That's all me. I'm claiming that. And now you've replaced me with my mum in the gym though. She does better.
She's good. She's getting strong.
She's a weapon. She's a weapon. But yeah, I always played rugby. Music, there are weird family connections to music further back. Like I think my great grandfather owned a big band and a club, and he and my great auntie or whatever sang in the big band. And my nana on my dad's side is extremely Italian and loves singing in the choir, and she was the one that really she paid for my music lessons growing up. But yeah, my family was always super supportive of both. I always did both. It clashed definitely at times. I moved to Melbourne to study music. I was playing rugby down there. I ended up playing in the under 20s Melbourne Rebels, and then getting an opportunity to train with the Melbourne Rebels, which is a professional team that's now dissolved. But yeah, I was after COVID, I got a contract in Sydney with my brother. We were playing together, which was so much fun. I had such a great time living in the northern beaches and playing rugby. But I actually went on a really big hike with my girlfriend in Nepal, and while I was on the hike, I
As
was
you
like,
do.
as you do, it was a really good time to think, because we were literally just walking for 10 hours a day for 10 days. So I did my little pros and cons in my head, and I'd sort of been toying with what I wanted to do in the future, and I hadn't had the opportunity to give music a real proper go. I always wanted to go on a tour, but I never could because it clashed with rugby, and I couldn't really gig on the weekends. I couldn't put the energy into it that I wanted to, and so yeah, I thought, let's just go in 100% and see how we go, and that's when I landed the little gig with Matt, which ended up really good.
That's right. So the Wild Turkey mentorship,
Mm, mm.
you were in the very first batch, weren't you? Was that 2023 that first started?
God, I think so. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah. So, so this was a mentorship. You got selected by Matt Corby to be mentored
Mm.
by him. I mean, that's amazing.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. I was very lucky. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Matt, and it came at a really good timing because right when that happened, my brother got the call to move to England. He got a contract playing rugby in England, which I had always wanted to do, was play rugby internationally. So it lined up really well. Richard had an amazing time over there. I got this once in a lifetime opportunity, and I've got to tip my hat to Matt and just say he was such a good person. And really, the mentorship was a gig in Newcastle, which was incredible. We had such a good time, but he was just such a nice guy. And off the books, he said, come to my studio in the northern New South Wales hinterland and we'll make some music together. And yeah, just such a lovely guy, such an incredible musician, and had such a good time working with him. So very lucky.
Lucky, but obviously he saw something in you. So doesn't always come down to luck. It comes down to your hard work. We
Thanks,
have to
Jen.
always remember that.
Thanks, Jen.
All that hard work that got you there. It's the same with the word talent. I always say to people, it's not always just, it's actually not about talent. It's about hard work, because once upon a time you couldn't play an instrument and you put the dedicated hours into learning to play that instrument. Do you have a favorite instrument? Obviously guitar.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've really been working on my guitar the last 2 years as well, which has been super fun because I've always been a vocalist and guitar was just a secondary thing for me. But it is interesting you saying that about hard work and talent, because I worry sometimes people think this random rugby player has just decided to become a musician. But it's like all through school, I was on music scholarships. I've been taking music lessons since I was 7 years old. And then I studied music for 3 years in Melbourne. And whilst I was playing rugby, and then I released an EP in 2020 during COVID and then jumped back into the rugby. So it's definitely not like I've just randomly popped up on the scene and got to work with Matt Corby. Like there's been a lot of build up to that. And I have been lucky though with the people that I've surrounded myself with, and how they've sort of put me in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Gee, I feel tired thinking about how you must have fitted in two different careers. How did you manage that time? You must have had no social life.
Yeah. I mean, I had a really good group of buddies at the time, but looking back at it now, I'm just like my mental health definitely suffered. I was exhausted. I went into my first preseason with the Melbourne Rebels. I deliberately put on a bit of weight because I was young and I knew I'd be against these massive guys, but it just fell off me because I was studying full time. So I didn't have a lot of money to be investing in enough food, like the proper nutrition and stuff like that. But it was, looking back now, I'm like, that was so silly, but such a good experience. And I definitely wouldn't change it.
So you've gone from this really strict sports career into what people must think is just really relaxed and casual fun times with music. Music's a lot of hard work too.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not a lot of venues to go nowadays to see musicians. I grew up in Melbourne and I'd be out 4 nights a week seeing live music.
So good.
Everywhere you would go, and you'd be in one street and there would be at least 20 venues
So
to go and
nice.
see live music.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm living in a regional area and there's not as many places, and we keep seeing festivals shutting down, venues that can't have live music anymore. Even local venues here that have had live music for a long time, new people moving in who don't want to hear music at a
Yeah.
certain level. And that's even coming down just to people busking. They don't want to hear anyone with an amplifier, which astounds me because you'd think, well, that's what they moved in for,
Yeah.
because that was part of the hype, especially at the junction.
Exactly right. Yeah.
How are you finding navigating this?
Well, I think for me, having the flexibility that I do now with music is so nice because I had my whole younger adult life where I was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday are always written off for training. And then when you're in that sort of professional environment, it's even more than that. So being able to be like, oh, I'm a bit more flexible and I can do this work when I want to do this work and I can go for a surf until 10 o'clock and then do the work in the afternoon is so nice. I love my lifestyle currently. So I definitely cannot complain about that. Music venues, I definitely find Melbourne and Sydney is so much easier to get people to shows. Sunny Coast and Brisbane is such a struggle. I don't know if it's I think it's a cultural thing for the areas. But the good thing with this backyard show is that I think the hardest thing about putting on your own shows isn't the show itself. I find that it's the stress of like, are people going to show up? You put in all this effort, and you, as a independent solo artist, the onus is on me to pay my band, pay the venue, pay the sound guy, pay the opening acts, pay for a photographer. There are so many outs, but then you don't know how many ins are going to walk through the door.
Wow. Yeah.
The other good thing about this backyard tour is it's just me, which is pro and a con because I love playing with my band, but it does take the financial stress out of that. It's just my time and driving. If people want to bring an audience, they'll bring an audience, so I don't have to worry about bringing people, and they'll be there to listen to my music. I found there's two separate parts of my music career currently. My money earning section, which is playing cover gigs, which a lot of musicians do when they start out, and it's very easy to make money out of cover gigs. I mean, you could do it for your whole life, but I would love to make a living out of my original music. And that's a very different thing. It's a lot harder you're not getting a flat fee. It's ticket sales. It's creating a brand. It's doing the social media, which is a whole other kettle of fish.
I saw this meme the other day that had a picture of Kurt Cobain, and it said, imagine him being asked to not just play the instrument and write the songs, but also the amount of hours he needs to put into his social media to build his following. Do you think it's a harder world now with social media?
Well, it depends on the lens that you look at it through. I was listening to someone talking about the music industry, and they were saying, imagine an independent artist in the 90s and you said, I've got this device, you can use it for free. You can post all of your music on it. It's going to go to internationally to everyone. You just have to figure out how to use it properly. They would post a million videos. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I think the lens has to be, if this is the hardest part of my job, then that's a pretty good hard part of my job, and it can be frustrating and annoying. But at the end of the day, it is a tool, and it means that independent artists like myself have a platform that can compete with larger record labels to some extent. So I think it's tricky. And this video with the backyard gigs is probably one of the first times that I've actually managed to somewhat crack the code. But I think at the end of the day, it's not that bad. I'm trying to change my mindset and be like, it's actually a tool. It's okay,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, Spotify, obviously, there's lots of debate about Spotify. And I can see the viability of it, not just for those making money out of it, but for independent artists getting their music out there. I don't know how Spotify works and whether people are having to pay for their music to be discoverable. But it's scary to think of how much loss from a perspective for musicians. You're putting your music out there and it's being listened to, but you're not getting an income from that.
100%.
Like looking at your Spotify, I mean, these are fantastic results. Autumn Girl is close to, 500,000 people have streamed that, half a
Yeah.
million streams. That's phenomenal for
Thank
an
you.
independent and regional artist. And you've only been doing this for a couple of years. That is a phenomenal number. Is that successful to you yet?
It is tricky. And I think, my goal, the number that I've said would be excellent, is if you have 500,000 monthly listeners, then that equates to approximately the average Australian salary. But obviously that's a huge number, but there are people doing it. And that's passive income, like once the song is out there, that income, you don't have to do anything other than promote it, obviously. But yeah, it is tricky. Like, I'm stoked that vinyl sales are a thing now. I haven't personally done them yet, but I think it's such a good idea to have a physical product that you can sell. On this backyard tour, I think the only real way that I can make money out of it is by selling merch.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I'll do vinyls or CDs, or I'll definitely do t-shirts, but having an actual product to sell obviously is such a that's the way a lot of people are making money, or ticket sales in music. I think if you've got a record label involved, your streaming income is just you you're not going to be making the big bucks off that. You're banking on your live shows essentially. But
Yeah.
that is the one benefit of staying independent, is if you can crack it, and if you are getting that 500,000 streams monthly, then you have a wage coming in that's passive income, which would be so, so nice. Someone
Yeah.
give me 500,000 monthly streams, please. I just want tell me how to do that.
With everything that's been going on with the music industry, I've gone back to buying vinyl.
So good.
Yeah, I got told recently that apparently it's, a faux pas to say vinyl. We're supposed to say records. Admittedly, back in the day, I used to say records. Vinyl, well, it is vinyl. That's what it's made out of. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm being uncool by saying vinyl, but I've been buying up all my favorite records again.
So
All,
good.
all the music that I had on cassette or on CD. I remember back in the 90s when CDs first started, and I started just buying lots of CDs. My mum gave me all of her records, her whole collection. And I should have appreciated it so much more because she had first editions of the
Oh,
Beatles, like original pressings, which are
so good.
apparently worth a lot of money now. And I took a lot of them it was a used record shop in Dandenong
Oh my
in Melbourne,
God.
Victoria. Dixon's Recycled. And I took them in and sold them so that I could buy CDs.
Oh, no. And now you would have had the world's best vinyl collection if
I would
you'd
have
left it in a shed.
I'm still trying to find my Dire Straits Brothers in Arms record. It's somewhere in a box. I know
Yeah.
I've still got it.
Oh my God. Would you believe I found I one of my first music memories was I got singing lessons, and the first song I ever sung was Lean on Me by Bill Withers, and
Oh, wow.
I love Bill Withers. And I went to the CD store in the Sunshine Plaza, which used to be next to the cinema, and I bought Bill Withers' Greatest Hits CD, and I found it the other day, and it's in my van, so I've still got my first ever music purchase,
That is
which I love.
awesome.
So good.
The first one that I went and bought with my own money was Michael Jackson's Bad.
Great, great first purchase. I love that. He's had a little resurgence as well, hasn't he, lately? Well, MJ, such good music.
I was at Berkeley bookstore in Eumundi
Nice.
last week, and I got a first Aussie edition pressing of Santana,
Wow.
their first album from 1968, I believe it was. And I know it was a first pressing Aussie version because, of course, in each country there was a first pressing
Mhm.
done. I'm only learning all this recently.
I have no idea, but I love it.
It's become a new expensive hobby.
That's why I haven't started. I know if I start, I'll
It
spend
is.
all my money.
I'm going to start going to garage sales to save
Nice.
money. But yeah, it has a misprint. One of the songs is wrongly attributed.
I love it.
I don't know if I paid too much or too little, but it's mine and I can listen to it.
Then it doesn't matter. That's all that matters.
It
If you're
doesn't matter.
happy, then it's
Exactly.
all good.
Yeah. So if you can get records printed, go for it. I think it's really important if we're going to support music.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for people to go and buy music and listen to it from beginning to end, cover to
Yeah.
cover.
I mean, that's
Because
my favorite thing about records is being able to put it on when you're sitting, I don't know, at the dining table or in a room chilling out. It's so nice just listening to every song. All of my best memories as a child of music were sitting in the back of a car, listening to the 6-track, CD player and listening to every song all the way through.
yeah,
But yeah, that's definitely something that we're missing with the streams, I think.
yeah, totally. It's an experience. Just like a CD is an experience
Mhm.
because you open it up and you'd have the little slip in there and there'd be the lyrics and there'd be photos and there's all these extra goodies that you can look at. Whereas if you're just getting your music streaming, you're not seeing pictures of the band.
The artwork
You're
of the
not
vinyl, the physical, thing.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think this is what we are missing from streaming music. We're missing the experience, taking the record out and physically putting it on the record player and hearing that sound of the needle, when
Yeah.
it just starts and you get that. I mean, it's beautiful. It's, yeah. And That's really important. So I think, yeah, do
I agree.
do
100%.
buy records, everyone, buy CDs. At least the money that's made from that, the artist is gonna see something because they're not
Agreed.
gonna see something from streaming.
Especially
Yeah.
if they're an independent artist and they're on tour, definitely buy their merch.
Yes. Oh, you know what? I should have worn my T-shirt. I've got the designer
No,
T-shirt.
next
That's
time.
what she worn today. I'll do my
Next time.
little intro wearing it.
Training.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Yeah, I think hats are always really good as merch.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
What else? T-shirts.
I've got the classic stubby cooler. I've got some stickers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I might do some tote bags.
Ah, that's a good idea.
I love a tote. Totes are
Yep.
always good.
Bought one at the Pixies recently.
Very
Went and saw the
nice.
Pixies and I bought their tote bag.
I love it. But yeah, I think it as well now really like it should be more institutional, but supporting Australian artists because there is so much access to international music. The industry is finding that people are outsourcing music to international artists. And I know I saw the other day there's a big
Right.
campaign at the moment trying to bring Australian listeners back to Australian artists. And it was talking about training your algorithm to listen to Australian artists. And it's a shame because obviously the consumer's going to put whatever in front of them that they enjoy. And I think maybe people like Triple J, I think Triple J should do a hottest 100 with just Australian artists or something like that.
Yes. I agree. I don't even listen to their hottest 100.
Yeah. Well, when
Yeah.
the number one artist is like Doja Cat or someone, an American artist that couldn't care less about,
Yeah.
this random competition in Australia. Imagine if
Yeah.
that was an artist from Australia that has worked really hard on promoting live music in Australia. It would just be so much nicer for the Australian music industry. But I do understand that, people listen to what is in pop culture and what they enjoy, but maybe molding that slightly somehow would, Spotify promoting Australian artists within Australia. I don't know how that would work or what it looks like, but it would be good.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Hottest 100 was so big in my youth. Everybody, we would have parties
Hmm.
to listen to it. It was a
So good.
major part, and there would be so many Australian artists represented.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gone wrong. Like,
Yeah.
why aren't we promoting our own? And you're right, because those artists, they are big, like Doja Cat. I can't name her song. I can honestly say I have no idea what her song would be. I have heard her name, but yeah, like, does she care that I don't know her name?
Yeah.
Whereas an Aussie artist would, because
Yeah.
they want their own local audience. It's
100%.
good to become big overseas, but it's better to be big at home.
100%. And I know I also saw something the other day about Australians only really biting on to Australian artists once they've done their overseas stint. So someone like the Parcels, for example, they moved internationally. I can't remember if they moved to America or England, or maybe it was Berlin. But anyway, they got really popular somewhere in Europe or internationally, and then the Australians like to say claim them back, and there are so many examples of that where Australian artists will move internationally and it's actually the overseas hype that brings them back to Australia,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
super interesting. But yeah.
It is interesting too. I wonder though, is it true or is that just what we're being fed? Because if we're not hearing it,
Mm.
when it comes to music, is it that Australians like me, I'm interested in music. If I'm being told, well, this person's really big, well, yeah, okay, I'm probably going to say, oh, well, who is this person? I'm going to go
Mhm.
and look them up and check them out. But if our radio stations aren't playing our own musicians, if they're not feeding our own music to us and helping us to hear that, or our television programs aren't utilizing local artists to use the music in the background in TV programs, well, we're just not being fed the music. So is it that we're not interested until they get big, or is it because we're not being introduced to them until they get big?
I like the way you think. Yeah, it's very true. And someone like Triple J, a government funded organization, they should be
That says it all.
they should be promoting Australian
Yeah. Yeah.
music. Like that's their job.
Yeah. Listening to a friend of mine whose band is on Spotify as well, and their music's really pretty cool. I actually said to them recently, why don't you send your music to like the film schools and film students? I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of other artists who are, putting together films and, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get the music, get the Aussie music in our Aussie stories.
Yeah, I
Why are
love
we
that
using
idea.
American music for our stories?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
would be great actually if there was I don't know, some sort of resource where the two could be connected, in like up and
Yeah.
coming musicians and up and coming filmmakers could collaborate because I've definitely had that thought
Totally.
before, but I'm like, who do you contact? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know what to do there? But that's another huge section of the music industry that people don't know about is a big money maker is sync at a higher level. So that sort of like TV shows and any advertising on movies. And that's a big part of how artists make money.
Yeah.
And yeah, usually there's big companies involved with that
Or
though.
games. Games
Games,
too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a bit of a love for The Sims. She
Nice.
says shyly, coyly. And The Sims, it's really funny. I've noticed in the background, like sometimes when there's Sims music playing, it's actual contemporary music that's just been put into Sims language.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it. So good.
The Sims is huge.
They
And
know
it's
what's up.
all, yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know you could still play it. Is it like an online game?
Yeah, yeah. You can get the base game for free now,
I love it.
like on Xbox. Yeah.
Nice.
I have my own Xbox that my daughter and my husband aren't allowed to save any of their games on because
Yeah.
no, I need enough room for my game.
You have to gatekeep. You don't want anyone starting your campaign and ruining.
Exactly. And I need enough room. I have vampires, I have fairies, I have wolves.
Nice.
I have one sim that makes so much money out of painting. That's all she does. But
That's good.
it keeps coming up where she wishes she had a job. And I'm like, what?
Why do you want a job? That's silly.
Successful you are for these paintings of rainbows. I mean, come on. You actually started at Eumundi Market, didn't you? I mean, that has a massive audience. Was that a really good starting ground for you, Ski?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, thanks to my mum for pushing me to do that because it was obviously a huge hurdle doing that for the first time. It's so nerve-wracking. But yeah, I mean, I did it a lot growing up and it definitely gave me a warped perception of money because as a chubby 12-year-old, I would come home with $300 cash after 2 hours and,
Wow.
and just like,
Wow.
you know, um, I had a lot of fun doing that. I used to use a little amp with backing tracks and just sing like 4 songs on repeat. So I'm very sorry to any of the stall holders if you're listening now. I know the ginger beer man. There's an old ginger beer man who was my rival. He hated me, and he used to try and yell at me. And my mum almost got in a biff with him once.
Really?
I remember him walking away, and I sung "Let It Be" by the Beatles to just sting him. But
I love that. I
so no,
love
if
that.
anyone goes to your Monday Markets, don't buy the ginger beer. It was good fun. I actually, funnily enough, got a message from someone who's they must be starting up, the top level of the Eumundi Markets up that
Yeah.
backside road. They messaged me up there and said, come do one of your backyard shows up there. So that might be fun.
How
But yeah,
cool would that be?
very, very fun. I just
Yeah,
remember back
yeah.
in the days, there used to be a rubber band gun store up there, which was the best thing ever as a 13-year-old kid. I just
Especially with
wanted
$300 in your pocket.
in coins.
Yeah.
So funny.
Gigs like that. I guess it builds up thickens your skin for when you're doing cover gigs where the audience isn't necessarily taking notice of you.
Mm,
How does that feel? Like I know when I came and saw you recently, what was it called?
Matzos.
Maxo's. Yeah. Does it feel like it felt weird? Where we were sat, we could only get a table right like ages away from where you were. It felt weird to not be able to sit and go, well, I just want to sit and watch,
Yeah.
this artist perform, but it's everyone's eating and people are walking around and talking. How does that feel for you as an artist? Or for you, is that just, well, that's what that kind of gig is? It doesn't upset you, or
Exactly
how does
right.
it feel?
Like that to me, they're two different things entirely, and that's my day job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see that, and it's funny because people do come up to me and they'll say like, "We were listening." Like, I'm sorry we weren't clapping every song, but And some of the gigs I played a gig on Wednesday on a boat in the Mooloolaba Canal, I guess you'd
Oh,
call it.
lovely.
But like I prefaced that by saying, "Hey guys, you don't have to clap between every song for this gig because I'm going to be if it's cover music, I don't mind if people are enjoying the music but not fully engaged in it. Something like the backyard shows, I would be really sad if people don't clap every song because then it's like I'm putting in a lot more effort and into singing my own stuff and telling
Yeah.
stories about the songs, and that feels more like an artist performance where I'm trying to connect with people. Whereas my day job of singing Valerie or like Chris Stapleton songs, I love because I get to do what I love and make money doing it, but that's not my true passion, and that's more of a moneymaker for me at the moment. They're very
Yeah.
different entities entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, when you're performing your own music, it's a very different gig.
Mm,
Totally different. Like even your vibe is different. There's a
exactly.
lot more energy with that. And that's not saying anything negative about your cover gigs. It's beautiful. Like
Thank you.
you've got a fantastic voice, and the music that you choose to perform is really cool, and it gets it's nice. It's chilled. It feels summery.
Mm.
I mean, Autumn Girl, that is such a summery song, even though it's titled Autumn Girl. Tell us a little bit about that song because it seems to be very popular and it's beautiful. I personally really like Feels Like, but I'm a big fan of Cheese, and you
Love that.
had me at Cheese. And when I say cheese, people, I'm talking physically about the actual cheese because he does mention eating cheese in the song. So
I've got another song coming out with another cheese lyric that you've just made me realize. I need to stop writing about cheese. Clearly got a lactose issue.
the
The
baked
Dafemois.
brie.
You got to do it.
Oh, oh man,
Yeah,
love it.
Autumn Girl. That was when I wrote that when I was living in Melbourne. I was living on my own in a small apartment on Dudley Street at the top of the city, listening to a
Yeah.
lot of an artist called Bruno Major. So it's definitely inspired by him. And it's about Autumn Girl is referencing the color of the autumn leaves. It's about redheads and a breakup that I had.
Lovely. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
people think it's a love song, but it's a song. It's actually a song about guilt and the guilt you feel of after letting someone go, but it's the right thing to do, and it's not their fault, and you feel guilty about it, but they're the one that's actually hurt. And yeah, I think that song is often misconstrued as a love song, and
Yeah,
people
I
go,
thought it was.
yeah, people go to my girlfriend Darcy now. They say, "But you don't have red hair; you got brown hair." And I'm like, "You haven't listened to the lyrics fully yet. Like, have another listen, and now go back and listen, and it'll be a lot sadder."
I will definitely be going back and listening now because I
Yeah,
thought it was a love song. Oh
yeah.
gosh, imagine if somebody uses that at their wedding.
That apparently that's a common thing with I think there's a Coldplay song or a U2 song that people often use, and it's like a song about death. It's just like you got to do your research.
Well, you know what they say, death of the author. Once your work gets out there, what was your meaning that you had attributed to it when you created it
Yeah,
disappears,
that's the
takes on a
beauty.
whole new life for
Yeah.
someone else.
That's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. Hey, I think like I love that people have different interpretations of what my song might mean. And Autumn Girl, like if people hear that as a love song, then that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for that. But yeah, it's funny people have different interpretations.
You must get some interesting fans, like especially when you're touring
Mm,
and you're at venues where there's alcohol and
yeah.
people are letting loose a little bit. And I mean, look, you're not hard to look at. So you must get some interesting fan reactions.
Yeah.
Is it hard to keep a straight face?
I think I've been pretty lucky. Like I love a positive comment, and this I'll have a giggle, and there's nothing bad about that at all. I've had a
Yeah.
couple. I've only ever had maybe one heckler or two hecklers. I remember I was playing a gig in Bondi, and one of my friends was doing a tour run down the East Coast, and he said, "Come and play an acoustic set in Bondi Hotel." And I was there with my brother, who's the same size as me, like 110
Yeah.
kilos, and my other best mate that's also a rugby player, that was 110 kilos. And there was a guy in the front row that was yelling out between the songs. And I just kept a cool head, kept my straight face. He was so drunk. And after the set, I went up to the bar staff and said, if you don't get rid of that guy right now, we're going to do it. And it's not going to be pretty. And they called the police and he got escorted
Oh my
out by the cop
gosh.
because
What was he saying?
he was just yelling not nice things. Honestly, I couldn't even hear him, but he
Yeah.
probably wanted to hear K-San, and I was singing Autumn Girl, so fair enough, buddy. But yeah, I've been lucky. Like I went out to Warrialda, which is a country town near St. George, for a Christmas gig with my band about a month ago now. I had the sound guy come up to me, or what I was the band before me came up, and he said, one of the ladies came up to me and she saw you and she said, well, if he's no good at singing, at least he could be a good stripper.
But it's kind of a good compliment, but still, it's like,
I'll
what?
take it. I'll take it. She hadn't heard me sing yet, but yeah, you definitely get funny things.
Yeah. How are people on social media? Do you find them, the majority of people, friendly?
I've been really lucky. I haven't had many bad experiences on social media. It is really hard though. You get 1,000 positive comments and you get one negative comment and you dwell on that negative comment, which is such
Yeah.
a terrible part of human nature that we have to deal with. But
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't had too many trolls, as they call them, and I'm pretty good at just deleting a comment if
Yeah.
I do ever get that.
Delete, block.
Delete, exactly right. Like, and it's hard because you always want to say something back, but at the end of the day, they're looking for the reaction. So the best thing you can do is just get rid of it and just not give them the satisfaction of having any attention at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm very lucky. I haven't had many bad experiences with that kind of thing, but people are strange, weird
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Jim Morrison sung about them. People are definitely strange. How do you find with venues? Is there a lot of support there for venues?
I think in my experience, most venues are really good. And at the end of the day, they're trying to get people in the venues as well. So it's kind of
Yeah.
more of like a teamwork thing.
Yeah.
I think the hard thing now is the generation below me and even my generation are drinking less. And at the end of the day,
Mm.
musicians a lot of the time are in these, especially up and coming musicians, are putting on these shows to sell drinks. So if people aren't drinking, it makes it a lot harder. So I've seen some artists, like an artist, Bobby Alou, you might have heard of. He's just done a breakfast tour where he's done it a second time now as well, I think, but he literally plays at cafes in the morning and all of his fans, he's sold out a bunch of shows.
Oh my God, I would love that. I
It's
would go to that.
such a good idea. And I was speaking to his manager about it, and they've done it all through sponsorship. So he puts on this show. He's got an influencer that reviews breakfast venues that goes with him and does all the filming. And he had a alternative milk company that sponsored it. And I was like, that is just genius business.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're taking the onus, and then he can do the shows for free. He gets fan engagement. The fans get a show. The cafes get business, and the company that sponsors it gets a lot of promotion. So it's just a win-win for everyone. I think in the future there's going to be a lot more thinking outside of the box with stuff like that. Obviously, there's always going to be massive stadium sales, but getting to that level is going to be the tricky part,
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of people can't afford the stadium shows. I'm happy to pay to go to a festival, which isn't cheap, especially when you counter in, food and accommodation and things like that and transportation. But because I get to see lots of bands, and usually bands at different areas of their career as well. So you get to see emerging talents as well as established musicians. But going to big concerts, I mean, Pearl Jam, I didn't go to see them on their tour. It was way too expensive. I mean, who can afford that? It was like $400 odd dollars. I think Lenny Kravitz, it was like $500.
yeah,
For myself and my husband, well, there's $1,000 already.
it's a lot of
Plus,
cash.
then you've got everything else that you've got to pay, and it's like, wow. Um, I remember back in the 90s, we used to spend, I think the most I ever spent would have been probably $80. And that would have been probably Pearl Jam as
Yeah,
well.
back in the day.
At the time, Eddie Vedder was, he was fighting with one of the big, I can't remember what they were called now. One of the it might have been Ticketmaster.
Yeah, I remember this. I did hear about this. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, over price gouging.
yeah.
So I was really surprised when they came out. What was it, last year or the year before? They came out and toured, and I was really surprised to see the prices of the tickets. It's like, oh, gee, he's changed his tune. Yeah, it's no longer affordable. And there's not many places for bands to play nowadays. I mean, it's probably a little bit different if you're working just as yourself, but when you're taking your band with you,
Mm.
that's hard.
It's
There's not
tricky
many places.
on the Sunshine Coast especially. I feel like we're missing that low capacity venue. The precinct is good in Nambour, but I think the hard thing is that we're so spread out on the Sunshine Coast. You almost need one in Noosa and one in Maroochydore or Caloundra. That's like 100 capacity venue. I know we had Ole, which was behind what's now New York Minute. That was it would have been like 60 to
Yeah,
80 capacity little band
yeah,
room, and that was so fun because there's nothing worse as a independent up and coming artist as like playing to a really big empty room. But if you play a small room and it's full, the same amount of people, it feels like a party, it feels really good.
yeah, yeah,
So Soul Bar is such a great venue, and I've everyone who works there is really lovely. So and absolutely no bad blood to them, but it is hard to fill that room for someone like me because
yeah,
it's such a big room. So like I'm not going to put a headline show on there until I'm confident that I can get at least 200 people in there.
yeah.
So yeah, that having that smaller option is always good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we definitely need that. I just think festivals,
Yeah,
lots of little festivals, little mini weekend festivals where you can go and see even 6 performances. How cool would that be?
so
I mean,
fun.
it's,
Yeah,
we've got the weather the majority of the time, but then, yeah, look, there's a lot of boxes that have to be ticked. It's a
yeah.
shame it's like that because I feel like when I was in my teen years, we didn't have all those boxes to
There's no red
tick.
tape. Yeah, there's just so much
Yeah.
red tape. And I
You
know
could just
now,
grab a paddock and everyone just meets at this paddock and there's music,
yeah,
you know?
so
That's
nice.
how Woodstock started.
Yeah.
I used to go to Rock Above the Falls Festival.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that was massive. And that started the same way, in a very similar way. A couple of guys had an idea to put on a festival and they just went and asked somebody who owned a lot of property, can we just do it
Use this
here?
bit of land. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
idea.
and then obviously, of course, all the red tape gets involved, and suddenly things become way too expensive. And well, now we have hardly any festivals in Australia, which is
Yeah.
really sad
Yeah,
because
it's
they were great breakout opportunities for
100%.
bands.
It's such a
Yeah.
shame, with, we lost Groove in the Moo last year. We didn't
Mm.
have what was the other? Oh, we didn't have Caloundra Music Festival. Such a bummer. At least we've still got the Big Pineapple Festival. They're doing good things. Such a shame to hear about the station in Batinia closing down.
Yes. Yeah, that's
So
just
sad.
recent, isn't it? It
Yeah,
is.
very
Yeah.
tricky. But yeah, what can you do? Like cost of living's high. I think the industry's changing. There's always going to be music, and I think you just
Yeah.
got to find ways to adapt.
Yeah. And obviously, the most important thing that, for people to be doing is supporting independent artists like yourself, buying your music, buying your merch, buying your CDs, buying your vinyl. Is it expensive to get records printed? I would assume it would be quite
I've a-
costly.
I've actually never done it, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I reckon it would be.
Yeah.
And I know um obviously it's a big if you got a box of vinyl, it's a big heavy thing to carry
Yeah. To
around.
lug
So
around. Yeah.
that's the
Whereas
other part of
CDs
it.
are a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what we want. We want everyone buying CDs and vinyl if you can.
Back to tape again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had this interesting conversation with a hairdresser. She was very young, probably barely 20 years old. And I said, "Do you have a favorite band or a favorite artist?" And she said, "I couldn't name one." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "No." She said, and I said, "Why do you think that is?" I said, because when I was your age, I could name 20 bands that I love. And she said, because, we only get his snippets on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, that conversation, because it's like, well, that is how they hear it. Speaking of favorite musics, do you have any favorite musicians? Other than Matt Corby, I know
Yeah,
he's one of your faves.
he's big on the list. I think relevant currently because he's recently passed away is D'Angelo. He had a huge influence on my music when I moved to Melbourne and was studying music and discovered him. I am huge fan of his music. I listened to a lot of John Mayer's Continuum album growing up,
Beautiful.
and I
Yeah.
think now delving into guitar a bit more, John Mayer's definitely a big influence. I love Alan Stone, an American artist. He's very soul, beautiful voice. Tom Misch, a British guitarist. See, this is the problem. Now I'm saying all international artists after having what I've just said. But biggest
It's
Australian ones,
okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
biggest Australian ones would be definitely Matt. Matt has been a huge influence, and I love soul R&B music. Matt is a great example of Australian soul and R&B.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Angus and Julia Stone.
Mm,
And I can hear like your music's different, but I'd put you in that sort of similar, it's just that really cruisy chillax, and they're these stories that are so relatable. Do you
yeah.
find like especially when you're writing lyrics, is that a way of you just sort of resolving things that are going on in your life? Because obviously they're stories. You're telling stories in your songs.
I think the best songs come out when there's something that I want to get off my chest,
Yeah.
like Autumn Girl or a couple of the recent songs that I'll be releasing soon. How deep that was the first song I took to Matt, and that's actually about an accident that happened when I was up in Cairns where a girl drowned, and my friend and I were the first people there trying to sort of
Oh
like
my
figure out
goodness.
what's going on, and I'd never really had a traumatic event like that happen. And that song actually really is the first time I was like, this song actually helped me get through that. So those songs are my favorite songs. And those are the easiest to write, funnily enough, because, there's something in the back of your mind that's giving you the direction. But then something like Feels Like, your favorite song, that was a time pressure written song. I had a recording session the next day when I was living down in Sydney and I hadn't written a song yet. So I was like, shit, I better get something done. So I wrote that in
Oh my gosh.
half an hour.
Seriously.
Yeah, which is so funny. It's funny how, um, sometimes it's, you never know how a song's going to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find the production side is important, or what's the most important to you when you're writing your music? Because obviously it's a different situation when you're in a studio and you're adding backing vocals and
Mm.
doing all of that. I would assume you're very involved in that process.
It really depends on the song. I know there's a quote from John Mayer. He was saying the test of a really good song is if it's good acoustic, then it's good. Then it's a good song. But the producer makes all the difference with how the song is shaped. Any song that's written with just guitar and vocal could end up any genre. Like there's a million arrangements you could come up with from that point. And one of my goals last year and this year was to get a bit more involved with the production side of things, which has been super fun. And it sort of means that you can put a little bit more of your influence on the final output. Yeah, I mean, production is incredible and producers are incredibly intelligent and gifted people because part of their job is emotional intelligence and getting the best out of the artist that they can without offending them and trying to navigate that, but at the same time their craft of putting together a song, and usually they're multi-instrumentalists, and I think they're an unsung hero of the music industry is the producer for sure.
Yeah. Do you select your producer yourself, or is this something that um have they selected you? How does that work? How do you
Definitely.
find the right producer?
Definitely use. I mean, I've selected my producer. I know people who with record labels will just jump in the studio with a lot of different producers because they have the money to do it. But if you're doing sessions with producers at my stage, you're paying. So yeah, I definitely do my research and make sure that was the thing with Matt is I knew he was doing production and I loved his work with another artist called Budjera. And so I was like, get me in that studio. If we make music, it'll be super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they make a
Was
massive
it
difference.
daunting the first time you got in the studio with someone like Matt?
A lot of imposter syndrome, but he's just such a chiller guy. And like we would go surf in the morning beforehand, and then I was staying at a studio, um, and then, we'd be having bolters by 11 a.m. in the studio. So it was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, wow. It must be, yeah, when you sort of talk about imposter syndrome, that must be a really hard thing to, yeah, to deal with. I've dealt with that in my career as a photographer. I know that, what's his name? Robbie Williams. Did you watch his
I
documentary?
did. It was good. It was great.
Yeah, and to think that somebody of his caliber still struggles to get on stage with imposter syndrome, like,
Yeah.
that blew my mind. And this is the thing, to get up on stage, get up and put yourself out there, because especially when someone like yourself, when these are songs from your heart, like, you're bearing your soul to strangers and you're getting up there and sharing who you are with people. It must be, I don't know, I just think that must be so scary, but also very liberating.
It's funny. I think I actually find it easier if it's a group of strangers. It's harder if it's people in the audience when you get to a certain stage because, I know my songs are going to resonate with some people, but maybe not everybody because people have different tastes. And if it's a group of people I don't know, then I just draw energy from the people I can tell are enjoying the music, if you know what I mean. But if it's people that you do know, then the pressure is, oh, I really want them to enjoy this, like there's a little bit more in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun performing. I really like performing and I love performing in front of strangers. So I want more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, more of that and more overseas. You've performed overseas a few times now too, haven't you?
Yes, I had my first London headline show last year, which was so much fun. Went a lot better than I thought it would. We had a great room downstairs in I'm going to forget the name of the location in London, but we packed out a room. I had my drummer and my MD from Australia over with me, and my old bass player from Sydney happened to be living in London at the same time. And yeah, it was just a really fun night. And then I played another show in Lombok a couple months ago in Indonesia, which was really
Wow.
such a cool venue. If anyone's in Lombok, go and check out Soiree. It's such a you're in the middle of the jungle, and then there's just this massive bar that should be in the middle of Las Vegas.
Wow.
It was very, very cool. But yeah, they were lovely and they let me borrow all their equipment. I used their guitar and I just took over a pedal board. And I'll definitely be going back there this year at some stage and spending a bit more time in Lombok because it was very fun.
How cool is that? Lombok. So what have you got coming up? So you've got this tour that you're gonna do, that you're planning. Is there anything else on the horizon?
Definitely either an album or a long EP. I'm undecided.
Yeah.
I'm in talks with a few people, trying to find the right producer. But yeah, I've started working on the next project. I really need to get some more music out, I know. I've got a single coming out with one of my friends, Emery, who's an incredible artist, next month. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, mid-year, I'll start releasing some more tunes. And off the back of this backyard show as well, backyard tour, I should say, I think it'll be a
Yeah.
great platform to get it all rolling.
Can't wait to see some of the footage. Are you gonna live stream any of those backyard tours?
That is a great question. I'm not sure. I think I'll definitely get a videographer along for some of the gigs.
Yeah.
I would love to find someone to come along with me to video it all, but obviously there's costs involved with that. So I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. Hey, I've got to figure out the route first and get together a little tour map, and then I'll start pitching it to some companies and maybe some videographers and stuff. We'll see.
Yeah, super cool. It sounds lots of fun. Well, it's been so awesome talking with you and just getting to know you a little bit more. People can find out more about you at Will Clift Music.
That's the
I
one.
should probably spell this out as well because not everyone is going to be necessarily watching the video. They're going to be listening to this. So UILLCLIFTMUSIC,
That's the one.
Will Clift Music. So that's also your handle for YouTube and Instagram. What about on Spotify? It's just under Will Clift, isn't it?
Just under good old Will Clift. Yep.
Good old Will Cliff. Can people purchase your merch from your website as well?
Not yet, but
Not yet.
that will be happening soon, I believe.
So maybe if they follow you on social media, they'll be able to
That's the
keep an
best
eye
way.
on that.
For sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
any gigs, any releases, anything like that, my Instagram is probably the best place for all of those good things.
Yes, you're very active on Instagram, which is great.
I try. I had a little
Yeah.
break. I had a little dip at the end of last year, and now I'm back on the bandwagon.
Excellent. And yes, those videos you've done are a lot of fun too.
Thank
They
you.
are fun, the little videos for promoting your tour. Well, it's been so awesome chatting with you, and
Likewise, Jen.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it all goes
Thank you. Me
and
too.
seeing you play again and maybe
Yes.
seeing you at the gym.
Yes, get me in BFT. How good. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with me as well.
Absolute pleasure. Have a great gig today too. You're off to do a gig now, aren't you?
I am. I've got the long drive down to Brisbane, Vegas, but
Awesome.
it should be good.
Have lots of fun.
I will.
Happy
Talk
New
soon.
Year as well. See
You
ya.
too. Bye.
Bye. Did you like that episode? Rate, review, and subscribe to Talking with Creatives. I'd love to see you back here next month.